Well, thank you very much. Wow. And what does it mean for the future of this iconic landmark? The Jordan River has been steadily declining for years. It was once a source of life and a symbol of the might of nature. However, something amazing that has been buried beneath its gushing waves for innumerable centuries has recently been discovered. A startling fact that would have people on the edge of their seats everywhere was disclosed as the river dried up. As scientists show off their latest discoveries at the Jordan River, rumors start to spread that something unbelievable is going on, something that goes against all logic and reason. People start to talk about a scary and mysterious event that makes them wonder, who or what is coming back from the depths of the river? As tensions rise and rumors spread like wildfire, the world waits with bated breath for what could be the most shocking discovery of our time. Even Donald Trump spoke up. So what could be lurking beneath the surface of the Jordan River? And what does it mean for the future of this iconic landmark? Let's dive deeper into today's video to explore. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to watch the latest videos. Donald Trump has often spoken about religion during his time as a public figure. And as President of the United States, his statements on religion have been diverse and have touched on various aspects of faith, religious freedom, and his own beliefs. Here are some key themes and quotes from Donald Trump related to religion. Donald J. Trump was raised as a Presbyterian and has praised both Christianity and the primacy of the Bible. In the Oval Office, he has surrounded himself with close advisors who share his deep faith. In part, the authors argue President Trump won over evangelicals not by pandering to them, but by supporting them in all their most important issues without pretending to be something he's not. Though the 45th president is far from the perfect vessel, he has been married 3 times. His supporters argue that Donald Trump may be just what America needs. This book reveals how he has surrounded himself with believers who think he is the one guiding figure, who can return us to the traditional values, hard work, discipline, duty, respect, and faith that have long been the foundation of American life and truly make America great again in all ways. Faced with the fact that the Jordan River is drying up, secrets are revealed one after another. And the whole world is frantically discussing the problem that will happen in the future. A river of special religious importance and associated with stories about what Jesus would be like in the future. Perhaps the statements and decisions of the U.S. president are trying to affirm the importance of this river. Along with that is a warning about potential risks that may break out in the near future. If I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. Well, actually, we keep them in a certain place. The Jordan River, which flows in the Middle East and is a central site in multiple religions, is being threatened by climate change as well as geopolitical tensions. The river continues to be an essential water supply for societies living along its banks. However, the Jordan River is drying up like other major rivers in the Middle East. Find out why it's happening and what is being done. Is the Jordan River drying up? Yes, the Jordan River has been drying up and is not sending as much water to the Dead Sea as it used to. Other issues are also plaguing the river and region. Figures vary, but according to the United States Geological Survey, the Jordan River dropped to only bringing 100 million cubic meters per year into the Dead Sea, whereas it previously brought 3 billion cubic meters. That figure has dropped to around 70 million cubic meters of fresh water coming annually from the Jordan River into the Dead Sea. The river has long been threatened by governments diverting water for agricultural and domestic use, and pollution is also a major damaging factor. Can you imagine what happens when this river dries up? The Jordan River and the Euphrates River are vital sources of fresh water in the Middle East. The drying up or reduced flow of these rivers can exacerbate water scarcity in the region, impacting agriculture, drinking water supply, and ecosystems. When any river dries up, the effects can be felt across a number of industries. In the Middle East, people often depend on healthy rivers for drinking water, for the growth of crops necessary for survival and for other uses. The Jordan River is also important in the irrigation of crops and in the tourism industry. Many religious people come to walk where Jesus walked and be baptized in the same river, where he is said to have been baptized. The tourism industry based on the religious sites will eventually decline if the waters of the Jordan dry up, as there will be no way to support visitors and the appeal of visiting the river will be lost. Fortunately for Israeli residents, the primary source of drinking water is now the Mediterranean Sea, as Michigan State University's Agriculture Extension explains. Desalination plants convert salty Mediterranean water into fresh, drinkable water. However, the Jordan River drying up would still be devastating to the region as the river supports so much of life there. What is found under the river, the Jordan River, once a source of life and a testament to the power of nature, has been slowly dwindling for years. But now, something incredible has been uncovered, something that had been hidden away beneath its flowing waters for countless generations. As the river dried up, it revealed a shocking secret that would leave people around the world on the edge of their seats. What could be lurking beneath the surface of the Jordan River, and what does it mean for the future of this iconic landmark? Let's take a look at it. The Bible story of Exodus could be true as archaeologists discover ancient ruins near River Jordan. Archaeologists have discovered ancient ruins near the River Jordan in what could be the first ever evidence of the biblical story of Exodus. It is claimed. In the Bible, Moses is said to have liberated the Israelites from slavery in Egypt and led them through the wilderness of Sinai before they crossed the River Jordan into the promised land of Canaan. However, no historical basis for the account exists, and archaeologists generally agree that the Israelites were, in fact, native to Canaan, an ancient region covering modern-day Israel. But now experts are analyzing whether ruins near the river are proof of a nomadic Israelite people crossing into the ancient land from outside. They have not proved that these camps are from the period of the early Israelites, but it is possible. If they are, this might fit the biblical story of the Israelites coming from east of the Jordan River, then crossing the Jordan and entering into the hill country of Israel later. Pottery shards from the site have been dated to the early Iron Age, around the time traditionally associated with the Israelite arrival. Meanwhile, the ruins themselves, a number of low walls, are believed to be rudimentary stone fencing for animals, consistent with known nomadic practices. In Bedouin settlements, people live in tents made of perishables, which are relocated every season. Thus, artifacts would not be associated with stone architecture. So the structures might have housed animals rather than people who lived in tents around them. The site 5 miles north of Jericho is also said to make more sense as a nomadic settlement than a permanent one. Temperatures. There can easily reach a searing 45 C, while annual rainfall is as little as 1 centimeter. Furthermore, the site is isolated and is shielded from view by the surrounding hills, perhaps implying a new population in fear of a hostile reception. The archaeologists are also planning to excavate nearby Yuja El Fouquet to determine whether it might be linked to the Israelite settlement of the region. However, the work is not without its challenges. Archaeologists must look for cultural clues that the site was indeed Israelite. The Exodus story is spread over the biblical books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It begins with the Israelites enslaved in Egypt before the Pharaoh, coerced by 10 terrible plagues, agrees to release them, and Moses leads them across the miraculously parted Red Sea. Once they reach the Sinai Peninsula, Scripture says they traveled to Mount Sinai, where Moses received the 10 Commandments. They then headed to the southern border of Canaan, but being too scared to enter, they were condemned to 38 years in the wilderness by God. After passing the years at the oasis of Kadesh Barnea, the Israelites then traveled to the eastern border of Canaan, where Moses died and was buried on Mount Nebo, according to the story. In the subsequent book of Joshua, Joshua takes over the leadership of the Israelites, leading them into the promised land across the River Jordan and conquering Jericho. Besides that, some important discoveries in the Jordan River will reveal a new set of Dead Sea Scrolls. Ancient fragments of biblical texts dating back almost 20 years and thought to have been hidden during a Jewish revolt against Rome have been found in an Israeli desert. The Israel Antiquities Authority announced that a 4-year archaeological project uncovered portions of the Book of the 12 Minor Prophets, including the books of Zechariah and Nahum. It was the first such discovery in 60 years. Also uncovered was a 6,000-year-old skeleton of a partially mummified child in a 10,500-year-old basket, which Israeli authorities said could be the oldest in the world. The CT scan revealed the child's age was between 6 and 12, with the skin, tendons, and even hair partially preserved. Among the recovered texts, all in Greek, is Nahum 1:5-6, which says the mountains quake because of him. And the hills melt, the earth heaves before him, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before his wrath? Who can resist his fury? His anger pours out like fire, and rocks are shattered because of him. The authorities said these words differ slightly from other Bible versions, shedding a rare light on how biblical texts changed over time from its earliest form. The first set of Dead Sea Scrolls to be discovered were found by a Bedouin shepherd in the same area in 1947 and are considered among the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century, although biblical scholars disagree on their authorship. Most of those scrolls are in the Israel Museum, Jerusalem, but both Jordan and the Palestinian Authority have disputed their ownership. Qumran, in the West Bank, the site where the first scrolls were found, is part of land seized by Israel in the 1967 war and would be part of a future Palestinian state. It is very exciting to see these finds and expose them to the public, finds which shed great light on our history. Avi Cohen, CEO of the Ministry of Jerusalem and Heritage, said, "These funds are important not just to our cultural heritage, but to the entire world." Other items include a cache of coins bearing Jewish symbols, including a harp and a date palm, arrowheads and spearheads, woven fabric, sandals, and lice combs, all thought to date from the end of the Bar Kokhba revolt, 132-136 AI, in which Jews fought against Roman rule in Judea. The treasures were found in what the Antiquities Authority called the Cave of Horror in the Judean desert. Using methods more likely to be seen in a Hollywood movie than in an archaeological project, researchers had to rappel down a precarious cliff face to reach the cave opening, which is 262 feet below a cliff top and flanked by gorges on either side. Drones were also used to survey hard-to-reach parts of caves. The remarkable discoveries were made during an Israeli project to prevent looting in the Holy Land, which experts say has been a constant threat to undiscovered artifacts since the first Dead Sea Scrolls discovery. Antiquities Authority Director Israel Hassan, who launched the operation, urged the Israeli government to do more to protect other undiscovered treasures. The newly discovered scroll fragments are a wake-up call to the state. Resources must be allocated to complete this historically important operation. He said, "So why did God dry up the Jordan River?" One of the obvious reasons why God dried up the Jordan River was to facilitate the conquest of the land of Canaan for his people. At this time of year, the snow of Mount Hermon was melting. The Jordan River would overflow its banks and become as wide as 1 mile in places. It was about a mile wide opposite Jericho at this time of year. The inhabitants of Canaan had reason to feel very secure. No invading force would be able to cross the Jordan and attack them. The current of the Jordan was swift enough. Rafts could not be made to ferry enough fighting men across, so that a siege might be laid on any of the Canaanite cities. However, God causes the waters of the Jordan River to stand up in heaps in the river Buayab. The children of Israel may now march forward and possess the land of Canaan. A way of advance had been opened up for them. A new generation has now succeeded the old. They too needed to witness the power of God in the physical universe. This demonstration of God's power would assure them as they went into the land of Canaan and were confronted with odds which, from a purely military perspective, would be impossible. The generation of the Israelites who came out of Egypt had witnessed the mighty power of God over the natural creation in the drying up of the Red Sea. Accordingly, through the miracle of drying up the Jordan, God reveals his power to the new generation in a similar way that he did to the previous generation of Israelites. Many explanations have been tendered over the years as to how the Jordan River dried up. Most prominent among these explanations is the landslide theory. The thought is that a landslide took place upstream and Joshua simply took advantage of the landslide to cross over. However, Joshua 3:13 is prophetic, and it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, that the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon a heap. Joshua could not possibly know that a landslide was going to take place. The Israelites had all of their religious items with them. The tabernacle representing the capital of God is there. The ark and all the sacred vessels were there. Joshua 3:15 makes a very definite comment when it says, "And as they that bear the ark came unto Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water." Joshua 3:17 informs us that the priests carried the ark into the Jordan River. Then the river dried up, and the people crossed over on dry land. Joshua's position as leader was confirmed in the drying up of the Jordan. Joshua had predicted this event, and it happened. In this way, Joshua's position was validated. The drying up of the Jordan River resulted in the psychological devastation of the Canaanites. To see Israel crossing over a dried up river shattered the security of the Canaanites. If, according to Rahab, the hearts of the people of Canaan had melted when they heard about the miracle of the Red Sea, their hearts must have melted again when they saw the Jordan River dry up. Joshua 5:1 confirms that this was the case. He did it again. As the protagonist of the Old Testament did to the Red Sea, he dried up the Jordan again. According to Exodus, God made the sea dry land, and the people of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground. And finally, they escaped from Egypt. Also, as in Joshua, God dried up the waters of the Jordan, and the people of Israel passed over. And finally, they entered into the promised land. Why did God dry up the Jordan as he did to the Red Sea? First, he wanted to exalt Joshua, to give him authority by drying up the Jordan. After Moses, who was the greatest leader, died, there's not a risen prophet in Israel like him. And none like him for all the signs and the wonders that the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt. However, God should have led the Israelites so that he prepared Joshua, the son of Nun. Eventually, the time had come to where God wanted to exalt Joshua as he did to Moses. The Lord wanted to give Joshua authority so he could lead the people of Israel. He greatly encouraged Joshua to be strong and courageous. When the Israelites saw the great power that the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared him and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. The display of God's power showed his strength. Therefore, the people of Israel followed him. Second, he wanted to make Israel remember that miracle from generation to generation, so that all people of earth know that the hand of the Lord is mighty. After the Israelites passed over the dry Jordan, God commanded Joshua to make Israel take up 12 stones from the middle of Jordan, from right where the priests stood, and carry them over and put them down at the place where the Israelites passed over. And he commanded them to tell the miracle to their children. At last, he wanted to make other kings feel anxious. So that made it much easier to conquer the promised land. As soon as all the kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan to the west, And all the kings of the Canaanites, who were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of the Jordan for the people of Israel until they had crossed over. Their hearts melted, and there was no longer any spirit in them because of the people of Israel. Joshua 5:1. In conclusion, according to the Bible, God dried up the Jordan and made the people of Israel pass over and enter the promised land. And through this miraculous event, he exalted Joshua, making Israelites remember his power through the ages and making other kings feel anxious about God. We need to pay attention to other reasons related to the drying up of the Jordan River. The Jordan River is a victim of people because it's what we did as people to the river. Basically, and now adding to all this, it's a victim of climate change. Israel, Syria, and Jordan have all competed for access to the Jordan River's water supply. But the conflict creates an incentive to take everything. Nations fighting over water access means that it's difficult for Jordan to be revitalized, as none of the affected parties want to give up any of their water. The issue of water scarcity is prominent in the Jordan Valley and surrounding countries, and the issues surrounding it are part of a web that is difficult for aspiring solvers to untangle. Natural processes such as desertification certainly have their effect. But other issues, including the political crisis of the region, rapid population growth, poor infrastructure, water pollution, and the misuse of water resources are also largely responsible for the water crisis. Just as the issue has largely been created by the environment and the people within it, it also greatly affects the environment and people. Many people throughout the area, especially poor populations in rural areas, are fighting for their lives daily while facing water scarcity, water pollution, and the health and economic crises that have followed. Well, there are solutions in place to make the current water supply more usable. These solutions are only effective as long as the water supply lasts, necessitating adaptive governance as a long-term solution. Anyway, as Scripture promises, one day, the Dead Sea will live again. When Jesus rules the earth in the millennial kingdom, water will flow from Jerusalem's Temple Mount, and fishermen will line the banks of the Dead Sea. What a picture of the power of God to bring life from death. That's all about today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe. Your support will be our motivation. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell to receive notifications from us. Hope to see you in the next videos. Goodbye.